C-suite teams rarely sit down together and ask the question that actually matters. Are we truly doing a good job? Are we still equipped structurally, intelligently, technologically to lead this firm into the next decade? Or are we running an organisation designed for a world that isn't coming back? Because on the surface, a commodities still looks unchanged. Ships still load, of course, barrels still move, instinct still drives decisions, and spreadsheets older than half the workforce are still somehow considered the system by traders who don't trust the system. But anyone paying attention can see the shift. It's quiet, of course, rapid in its rollout and irreversible in some cases. Commodity trading is now becoming an AI native industry. Digital assets are becoming liquidity rails underneath global flows. And most leadership teams are not adapting at the speed required. I say this as someone who's worked inside the real trading rooms of the industry's top firms. Rooms where decisions weren't academic, they were consequential. Where timing, information, and conviction didn't matter, they moved markets. For decades, advantage came from information. The trader who saw the first flow, heard the first early whisper, or recognized a pattern before anyone else. That edge no longer belongs to instinct alone. It now belongs to the firms whose CEOs, CFOs, and COOs understand intelligence. Machine intelligence, that is, liquidity intelligence, operational intelligence. Because AI is not optional upgrade anymore, and it's certainly not a project. It's a second decision-making system embedded inside the business, modeling balances, predicting disruptions, reallocating capital, and flagging exposure often earlier and more accurately than humans. And digital assets, well, they're no longer a novelty sitting on the fringe. They've quietly become the connective tissue of modern trade finance. Tokenized receivables, programmable collateral, on-chain settlement, and real-time transparency. But the real question leadership teams must confront is simple. Is our leadership built for the market we're moving into, or only for the market we've already lived through? And when we break this down, it comes down to three roles that shape the entire organization: how we lead, how we operate, and how we deploy capital. That's the CEO, the COO, and the CFO. For most of the industry's history, the CEO role was defined by market instinct, the ability to read a refinery outage, a geopolitical shift, a supply disruption, and see the move before it happened. That skill still matters, of course. It will always matter. But today, it's only half the job. The modern commodities CEO is no longer just a strategist. They are a systems architect overseeing a firm that is co-run by data engines and learning models. The firms separating from the pack aren't the ones with the biggest books anymore. They're the firms whose CEOs know how to interpret, challenge, and ultimately weaponize intelligence. Real-time crude and product balancing updates around the clock. Machine learning signals spotting arbs before humans even register the shift. Predictive supply chain models identifying choke points early. And behavioral risk engines understanding counterparties beyond traditional credit tools. And let's not forget, carbon and regulatory models quantifying exposure in seconds. This isn't IT. This isn't supporting technology. This is a parallel brain running the business. And here's the truth that most will never admit. If a CEO can't read an AI output, question a model's assumptions, or make decisions using intellectual property, they're leading a firm whose future is already behind. At the same time, the digital asset layer is quietly becoming one of the most powerful sources of competitive advantage. Tokenized cargoes, tokenized receivables, real-time on-chain collateral, and instant settlement tokens. CEOs who understand these rails will expand liquidity, accelerate turnover, and compress risk, while everyone else watches and wonders, how did they pull ahead? But if you want to see whether a firm is truly future-ready, look at its treasury, because the CFO's world exposes the truth instantly. Commodity firms that haven't evolved still operate with very slow procedures. Slow manual treasury processes, delayed P&L recognition, working capital trapped in operational lag, credit decisions built on yesterday's data, and liquidity models that update only when someone checks them. In this industry, that's not efficiency. That's a structural risk. The modern CFO must operate as the commander of intelligent liquidity, running a balance sheet that learns, updates, and protects the firm in real time. AI was already shaping finance engines, but some CFOs have no idea what's coming, like live liquidity exposures recalibrated automatically, machine learning credit models adjusting limits dynamically, or sanctions and counterparty screening that catch issues earlier. Or my favourite one, automated P&L verification with instant error detection and predictive cash flow engines highlighting squeezes before traders feel them. This isn't innovation. This is today's world, bread and butter tech, built into one continuous system. And then, of course, comes a digital asset layer, the most underdepreciated shift in the industry. Tokenized receivables unlocking day one liquidity, real-time on-chain collateral visibility, stable settlement tokens compressing cycle times, and the possibility of a 24/7 treasury operation instead of a month-end firefighting. A CFO who cannot operate in this environment cannot protect the firm. Full stop. Because the next decade of commodity trade finance won't be one with bigger lines or bigger banks, but with smarter, automated liquidity that moves at market speed. So basically the CEO and the CFO, they need to have a long, hard look at themselves. Lastly, we get to operations is where AI is already outperforming human systems, and where the gap between modern and traditional firms is widening fast. The traditional COO manages people, processes, and firefighting. The modern COO re-architects the entire operating model around intelligence, because AI can already predict port congestion weeks in advance, forecast pipeline, terminal, and refinery disruptions. It can model demurrage outcomes in real time, optimize vessel routing around fuel, weather, and carbon, and flag operational risk before they surface. This isn't support. This is operating the system of the business. The COOs who embrace this shift are building organizations that move with precision, where the system itself learns, adapts, and eliminates friction. And then digital assets take operations even further. Tokenized bills of lading, reducing fraud and delays. Smart contract lay time settlement, automated carbon scoring tied directly to physical flow. Or tokenized cargo payments syncing with real-world movement. The COO who doesn't understand digital assets cannot run the supply chain of the future, because the supply chain itself is becoming digital. The next decade of operational excellence will belong to leaders who can orchestrate self-optimizing physical systems, not just manage traditional operations. And after everything we've discussed, the real question for every leadership team becomes very simple. Are we evolving? Or are we just maintaining? Because this world isn't slowing down. Competitors aren't slowing down. Technology definitely isn't slowing down. Only our leadership teams are. If your CEO isn't working with probabilistic intelligence, if your CFO isn't running a 24/7 liquidity engine, or if your COO isn't building a self-optimizing operating model, then you're not preparing for the next decade. You're sleepwalking into it. The firms that win from here won't be the largest, the oldest, or the most decorated. They will be the ones whose organizations think intelligently end to end because their leaders chose to evolve. And in commodities, you don't lose gradually, you lose all at once. Now, there's a broader reality we need to acknowledge. Not about any single company, about the industry as a whole. For years, most transformation has happened down the organization, not up. Some years the systems are upgraded, or the processes change, or maybe the org charts are refreshed every few years. And of course, new hires arrive, new workflows appear, and new technology is deployed. But at senior levels, the levels that actually set the direction, the pace of evolution has been so slow. Yes, we've seen shifts. Some firms have moved from oil-centric CEOs to gas and LNG-aligned leaders. Others have brought in more technical and data-driven profiles. Some have blended commercial instincts with engineering disciplines. These are meaningful steps, of course. But across the sector, a pattern still remains. Many organizations shaped, steered, and ultimately controlled by leadership structures built for a different era. Structures that delivered exceptional success for decades, but haven't always been pushed to rethink themselves with the same urgency they demand from their teams below them. This is not a criticism by any means. It's a structural reality shaped by cycles, margins, and legacy operating models that have worked extremely well for years. But the next decade demands something different. Because the firms that thrive will be those whose leadership evolves at the same speed as their markets, not at the speed of their past. This is not about replacing experience. Experience is invaluable. It's about amplifying it. With new intelligence, new capabilities, and a new understanding of how this industry is being rewired from the inside out. This is not judgment on any company or any individual. I must stress that. It's simply an observation of the industry's inflection point. The firms that dominate the next era will be the ones whose C-suite evolves with intention, not because something is broken, but because the world has changed and the leadership must change with it. In commodities, the riskiest assumption is believing the future will reward the same leadership behaviors that the past has rewarded. The next decade won't work like that. Not anymore.